It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Tampa Bay Rays. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Wednesday afternoon to you, wherever you may be. We're at Dodger Stadium for the final game of a very brief two-game series with Tampa Bay. 1 month ago, exactly today, the Dodgers trailed the Giants by 8 games. They're now down by 2.5. How they did that? They won 16 of the last 24. And trying to keep it going, Brandon McCarthy will go to the mound today. He is 2-0 with a brilliant earned run average of 1.6. He's allowed 1 earned run or less in 3 of his 4 starts, but he hasn't made more than 85 pitches in any game this year. His last start, believe it or not, no decision against the Cardinals. He allowed 1 hit in 6 1/3 innings, 1 earned run, and no decision. By the way, when McCarthy was in the American League, he was 4-1 lifetime against Tampa Bay. On the mound will be left-hander Matt Moore to oppose him. Matt, a left-hander, back in 2014, was 17-4, and then came down with a bad arm. He needed Tommy John surgery, and he's working his way back. The Dodgers beat him back on May the 3rd in Tampa Bay. He is 6-7, 5-3 at home, and 1-4 on the road. Reds and Giants this afternoon. Madison Bumgarner on the mound for San Francisco. So those are the numbers. Sit back, relax. Good ball game coming up, and a whole lot more right after this. Pleasant Wednesday afternoon. Welcome to Dodger Stadium. Final game of the little two-game series with the Rays and Brandon McCarthy making yet another trip to the mound, which in some ways makes you wonder if it isn't almost miraculous. After all, he had Tommy John surgery April the 30th and making his way to the mound. So for Tommy John, his memory lingers on because Matt Moore, the left-hander pitching for Tampa Bay, also underwent Tommy John surgery. So McCarthy getting himself ready. Meanwhile, the young manager, Kevin Cash, has his lineup ready. And for Kevin's card, it goes this way. Logan Forsythe at second base, Brad Miller, the shortstop, Evan Longoria at third base, Corey Dickerson in left, Steven Souza Jr. in right field, Logan Morrison at first base, Luke Maile, the catcher, Kevin Kiermaier in center field, and Matt Moore, the pitcher. For the Rays, they are struggling. They are a four-game losing streak. They've scored 7 runs over the 4 games, hitting just .191. So McCarthy, with his great record, 2-0, an earned run average of 1.6, and when he was in the American League, he was 4-1 against Tampa Bay. So the Dodgers trying to continue their solid play. 1 month ago today, they were 8 games behind the Giants. They've won 16 of 24 to get to within 2.5, and they've done it primarily here at home, where they've won 14 of the last 17 games played here. Led by Corey Seager, Justin Turner, and the rest of the crew, despite the loss of Clayton Kershaw, the club has just rolled along nicely up to this point. Taking a look at the Dodgers with the leather this afternoon, they shape up. Gonzalez and Taylor, that's Taylor taking over and giving Utley a day off, then Seager and Turner, Kendrick leading off and in left field, Jock Peterson and Scott Van Slyke. Nothing new to report on Yasiel Puig. He could very well appear as a pinch hitter today, and I think Dave Roberts feels he's getting closer to coming back. So Logan Forsythe, formerly in the National League with down south at San Diego, hitting .278. He has a modest 7-game hitting streak. Forsythe made a critical error last night behind Chris Archer, and he takes the first pitch for a strike. Forsythe was 0 for 3 coming into the 8th inning, had a base hit, scored on a wild pitch. Here's the strike one pitch on the way. Logan takes a slider away. 1 ball and 1 strike to the count. It is warm, yes, it's a little muggy. It's 90 degrees at 11 minutes past 12. Oh, you always have that nice breeze coming off the lake. The 1-1 pitch swung on and missed. Well, they tell me imagination is great, so we'll continue to think we have a nice lake directly behind the center field fence and live by it. Here's the 1-2 pitch coming up to Logan Forsythe. McCarthy's fastball is fouled away. Hits 93 on the gun. Forsythe, with his 7-game hitting streak and in the leadoff role, had a game-tying 2-run home run Sunday in Oakland. Logan spread stance at the plate. McCarthy's 1-2 pitch, fastball, little fly ball, shallow right. Tough play, but coming in a hurry. The right fielder Van Slyke to make the play. So Forsythe out on a fly ball to very shallow right field. 1 away, and the batter now is Brad Miller, the shortstop. Miller has some sock. Left-hand batter checking in. Miller 15 home runs. Corey Seager has 17. And McCarthy ready. Fastball pulled on the ground to the right side. Taylor is up with it to make the play. So we have 2 down in the first inning, and Evan Longoria coming up. Longoria, naturally the biggest star on the ball club. He deserves that title. He has played so well, but it was pretty rare, and I'm sure it shocked him a little bit. Last night he singled in the first inning, flied out twice, and came up in the 8th inning with runners at second and third. And with first base open, you kind of expected that they would put Evan on first and continue against Dickerson. Instead, they pitched to Longoria with first base open, and he struck out. Longoria has power as Kevin Cash looks on. Kevin, born in Tampa, lives in Oldsmar in Florida, so he's a local boy at the helm. Pitch to Longoria, in for a strike, and the count 1-1. He's 39 years old come December. So Kevin Cash, certainly the youngest manager around. The pitch swung on and missed by Longoria, and the count 1-2. So with the ball club struggling trying to score runs, they look to Longoria, and he's not been able to produce. Coming off a series 3 for 15 against Oakland. Hits one up the middle for a line drive single to center. Up with it is Jock Peterson, gets it back in. So a 2-out single by Longoria, who singled in the first inning last night. And Corey Dickerson coming up. 2 down, runner at first. We're just starting. First inning. A very light breeze, barely nudging the flags in center field. The normal breeze blowing from left to right. A little consolation, perhaps, for the people in the right field pavilion. So 2 down, and the left-hand hitting Dickerson climbs in. McCarthy set, looks over at first, comes to his hitter way inside. 1 ball and no strikes to Corey Dickerson. He is one of several left-hand batters in the lineup for the Rays. You have Dickerson, Morrison, Kiermaier, Moore the pitcher, and Miller. The 1-0 pitch on the way, and that's taken low. So 2 balls and no strikes to Corey Dickerson. McCarthy coming off that brilliant effort last time out against St. Louis. Hard to believe. He went 6 1/3, allowed 1 hit, 1 earned run, and had no decision. 2-0 pitch is swung on, fouled away off to the left, out of play. After today's game, the Dodgers will be off tomorrow and then pick up again on the weekend the Philadelphia Phillies. 2-1 the count. In fact, looking at the schedule upside down, and it's Arizona. So check me on that. Phillies come the second week in August. 3-1 the count now to Corey Dickerson. Souza on deck. Corey taking a look down to Charlie Montoya, the third base coach, to see if they'll play run and hit with 2 out. We'll watch Longoria to see if they turn him loose. As we said, the Rays really struggling trying to get any runs. 3-1, Longoria is not going, and the ball hit in the air to left center pretty deep. On his horse is Peterson on the track, makes the catch 1 foot in front of the wall. No runs, 1 hit, a man left. And at the end of half an inning, Rays nothing, Dodgers coming up.
ANBM has good news for Dodger fans and great news for hot dog fans. You can now get hot and juicy Dodger dogs outside.
And it is humid, and Brandon McCarthy battled and comes out after 15 pitches, allowing just a base hit. He has a chance now to catch his breath sitting in the depth up in the back of the dugout where there is some shade. Here come the Dodgers. Howie Kendrick followed by Corey Seager and Justin Turner. Scott Van Slyke in right field, then Adrian Gonzalez, Chris Taylor at second base, Jock Peterson in center, A.J. Ellis handling Brandon McCarthy. On the mound, Matthew Cody Moore into his windup. The left-hander ready and delivers, gets a strike to Kendrick. Howie Kendrick facing Moore, who has a great record in the daytime. He is 5-1 in the sunshine, 1-6 at night. His next pitch is promptly banged into right field for a base hit. So Kendrick, who had a 16-game hitting streak snapped last night, picks up where he left off, a line drive single to right. So Corey Seager, who still has a streak, 9-game streak, and Corey ready to check in against Matt Moore. Corey with that 9-game streak, hitting .306, 17 home runs, 46 runs batted in. Matt Moore looking down the barrel to get a sign. He's a big man, 6'3", 210. Fastball hit in the air to left center, carrying well but not far enough. Coming over is the left fielder Dickerson to make the catch, and holding on at first is Kendrick. So one out on the long fly ball. Justin Turner, if you start the day June the 4th, that's when he has done the complete turnaround in 43 games. He is first in home runs, first in RBIs, first in multi-hit games, second in slugging percentage, fourth in extra base hits since June the 4th, covering 43 games. And of course, with that, also propelling the Dodgers from 8 games back to only 2.5. So Moore, 1 out, 1 on, and here is Justin. Matt Moore delivers, fastball off the plate, ball 1. Moore, a highly talented prospect back in 2007, and sure enough, had his greatest year when he was 17-4 in 2014. Problem was he then had to have Tommy John surgery. He misses inside, 2 balls and no strikes. Matt happens to be a Roman Catholic, has a tattoo of St. Michael, the patron saint of battle, on his left shoulder. And St. Michael was Moore's sponsor saint when he was first confirmed. Though he's out there working hard, trusting more on the left hand than the tattoo. And the 2-0 pitch is low, ball 3. 3-0. At the end of the 2011 series, Moore and the Rays agreed on a guaranteed 5-year deal that was worth $14 million. Matt, 27 years old. A lot of people looking at him in this time for a trade. Gets a strike, and the count 3-1. In fact, it has been written by a Tampa Bay writer that he, number 1, is being tangled out. Not to mention Chris Archer, who pitched so well last night. Chris in the dugout with the sunglasses, standing in the shade and taking in the game. 3-1 pitch on the way, and that's low, ball 4. So kind of a shaky beginning for Matt Moore. First and second, 1 out. Here are the Rays behind him defensively, and it's Morrison and Forsythe, Miller and Longoria, Dickerson, Kiermaier, and Souza, and the catcher Luke Maile, and the pitcher Matt Moore. So Scott Van Slyke, who can finish up almost anywhere, left field, right field, first base, and playing right field today. He has hit safely in 6 of the last 8, and he has 2 on, 1 out, no score, first inning. Moore, very deliberate set up around the bill of the cap, and the fastball is low, ball 1, 1-0. Though Van Slyke with a chance to do a little damage. Moore hands it his sides, now to a set. Another look at the runners, and the 1-0 pitch on the way, fastball in for a strike. We mentioned about Moore And the conjecture is this might be his last start in a Rays uniform. Mark Tompkins of the Tampa Bay Times believes he's the most likely of the Rays starters to be moved at the deadline. 1-1 pitch on the way. Matt delivers. Hard ground ball to third. Longoria to second for one, and they will turn the double play. So no runs, a hit and a walk, and one left. And at the end of an inning, no score. Interesting couple, we would assume brother and sister. The big brother using a spoon to get some ice cream, and the charming young girl using a straw to sip something cool. Just two beautiful faces in the crowd and in the shade. Meanwhile, second inning, it'll be Souza, Morrison, and Maile the catcher. Stephen Jeffrey Souza Jr. by name. They say he may very well be the best pure athlete in camp. He has a 37.5-inch vertical leap. He says he runs the 60 in about 6.5, and he can bench press 365 pounds. Well, he's 6'4", 220, fouls the first pitch back, and the count 0-1. He's from Everett, Washington, still lives there. Just turned 27. We're talking about his height. Wasn't too long ago. He was a lot less when he was in high school. He was 5'2" and 140 pounds. He gained 4 inches by his sophomore year, and now here he is 6'4" and at least 220. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Souza takes inside, ball 2, 2-1. One reason he grew so well, I believe, his uncle is in the military and used to take him out and make sure he worked out every day. Souza waiting. 2-1 pitch is hit to dead center. Coming up is Peterson and makes the catch for the out. So Souza lines to center, one down. And here's Logan Morrison.
Logan Morrison.
So Logan Morrison hitting .231, 10 home runs, and a pretty good idea about the strike zone. He leads the team in walks. We have one out. Second inning, no score. McCarthy ready, delivers, slips one in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Logan Justice Morrison. The Justice is Justis. Takes a pitch inside. His dad Chief Petty Officer in the Coast Guard, 28 years. Logan, another big guy, 6'3", 230. The 1-1 pitch is foul back. Guys on the team with that last name, they put Hulk in front of Logan, so they get the famous wrestler's name. His idol was George Brett when he was born in Kansas City. Stayed there until he was 16 and then moved on to Louisiana. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way, and that's foul back. Of course, Morrison comes by the size naturally. His father was a football player at Kansas, and he was 6'4", a 260-pound defensive end. 1 ball and 2 strikes. No score. Second inning, 1 out. Next pitch, foul back. Still 1-2. Brandon McCarthy trying to win his third. He is 4-1 lifetime against Tampa Bay. Now Brandon's ready, and the 1-2 pitch on the way, taken low and inside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Morrison picked up his first big league hit against Matt Cain of the Giants, and he got the base hit when Cain was really something back in 2010. 2-2 pitch on the way, swung on, lifted to center. Peterson lost the ball, I think, for a moment. Now comes in to make the catch. Fly ball to straightaway center, and he extended his arms and shakes his hand a little bit as if to say so to Howie Kendrick, but he was able to make the play. So that's 3 fly ball outs to Jock Peterson, and prior to the 3 straight outs, a single to center. So 2 out, and Luke Maile, the catcher, hitting just .208. 1 hit in his last 15 at bats, so he is struggling, but so are the Rays. Rays, of course, are buried in 5th place, last place. They are 20 games behind Baltimore. So for Kevin Cash, a painful year, a year of learning, but the players are delighted with him. The pitch is low. 1 ball and 1 strike. Cash played a lot for the Blue Jays. He even had exposure with the Red Sox and the Yankees, and now the skipper of the Rays. 1-1 pitch on the way is swung on and fouled off. 1-2 the count. No score in the second. Dodgers with the off day, and then Arizona here Friday night, Saturday night at 6:10, and then Sunday with Arizona at 1:10. Now the 1-2 pitch, swung on and missed, and down goes Maile. His struggles with the bat continue, and at the end of an inning and a half, no score. Ball game, bottom of the second inning. If you're home watching, you want to reach in and pull out something cold, and there are plenty of kids who are about to do that. In the second inning, Gonzalez, Taylor, and Peterson. Adrian Gonzalez right now is sitting on 299 career home runs. Only 3 players have hit 300 home runs in their career as a Dodger, so he'll be joining select company. Moore ready, Matt delivers, and a fly ball into right field, very playable. Waiting for it is Souza, 1 pitch and 1 away. Those 3 other Dodgers, Duke Snider, Gil Hodges, and Gary Sheffield.
Taylor.
So 1 away. Chris Taylor giving Chase Utley a little time off. Chris Taylor hitting .237. He had a couple of at-bats in the American League. Totally hitting .244. That combines his work with Seattle and his 19th game with the Dodgers. He's done very well. Chris takes a strike, and the count 0-1. No score, bottom of the second inning. Taylor in and out of the box. Now hooks up again with Moore. Moore to the windup and the strike 1 pitch. Fastball, ground ball to short. Miller is there. Brad makes the play. And we have 2 down in the second inning. That'll bring up Jock Peterson. Hard to believe, really. 1 month ago exactly on this date in June, the Dodgers were 8 games behind the Giants. They win 16 of 24 and get to win 2.5. The Giants will have Madison Bumgarner going against the Reds. That game will start at 12:45, so in about 10 minutes. And Dave Roberts, I'm sure, 2.5 back, will be keeping an eye on the Giant Reds game. It's Bumgarner and Straley. Meanwhile, Moore into the windup. Matt delivers, fastball away, and ball 1. Madison Bumgarner, by the way, 10-5 with a great ERA of 2.1. Dan Straley of the Reds, 5-6, an ERA of 4. Next pitch fouled away. Of course, the Reds made a lot of noise last night before going not quietly into that good night. Giants had to hang on and beat Cincinnati last night 9-7. Meanwhile, the Dodgers in a nail-biter finally won 3-2. Right side of the infield loaded up for Peterson. Moore into his windup. And the big left-hander comes back and gets the inside and a little low for ball 2. 2-1 the count. No score, each side with 1 hit. Moore's 2-1 pitch on the way, off the plate, ball 3. Matt had Tommy John surgery. His brother Bobby, 4 years older, went to the University of New Mexico. He was a pitcher and went down with Tommy John surgery. 3-1 pitch on the way, high and inside, ball 4. So a 2-out walk to Jock Peterson, and the Dodgers will have A.J. Ellis.
Catcher number 17, A.J. Ellis.
No score. Dodgers and Rays. Moore now, after walking Peterson, I'm sure a little annoyed at himself. A.J. Ellis struggling at 190, his 38th start, and the Dodgers have a record of 57-44. So in other words, he's not playing very much, and that leads to undermining anybody's abilities. You can't play this game once in a while. Slider that's up and in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Moore, #1 prospect in the Rays organization, and it paid off when he was 17-4 in 2014. Next pitch on a check swing is in the dirt. They look down at first, no swing, and the count 1-1 strike. It was back in 2011, the opener of the American League Division Series. Moore was 22 years old, and he became the youngest starting pitcher to win his team's first game in the postseason. The youngest. Tell you a couple of the fellows around that age who did well. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way. Fastball low, ball 2. You go back to Gary Nolan. He was the previous holder of that distinction. That was in the National League Championship Series way back in 1970. Moore, the first rookie starter to win his first game in the postseason. Jim Beattie did it back in '78. The next pitch hit in the air to shallow right field, coming up and making it on a hop, and then drops the throw. And by the time he gets it back in, Peterson is around to third. I think Souza might have been fooled by that fly ball. Then he tried to imitate that he was going to make a catch and a throw, and after taking the ball on a hop, he then dropped the potential throw. They put it all together, a base hit, and there are runners at first and third. Brandon McCarthy coming up. We'll check to see whether there is an error or not to allow Peterson to go to third, but nothing flashing on the board. So first and third, 2 down. Brandon McCarthy checking in. McCarthy 0 for 9 as a hitter. No score, second inning. Moore ready. Here he comes. Fastball for a strike. Fastball at 94. So Gonzalez flied out. Taylor grounded out. Then Peterson walked. Ellis singled to right. And with runners at first and third and 2 down, McCarthy at the plate. No balls, 1 strike. No score. Brandon waiting. Moore looks at the runners at the corners. Works the next pitch low. Sinking fastball at 94. And the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Moore also was the first rookie in Major League history to pitch at least 7 innings and allow no runs or fewer in a postseason game, and the second youngest to do it. He's inside to McCarthy. Wade Hoyt. Now you have to go way back. Wade Hoyt was a great pitcher with the Yankees in the 1921 World Series. Wade Hoyt, 22 years old, 27 days. There is a classic story about Wade Hoyt. I just thought about it. In fact, I never thought about it until just now, but it hit me like a bolt of lightning. Pitch to McCarthy is swung on and missed. If I remember correctly, Wade Hoyt's father was an undertaker, and he had his funeral parlor in New Jersey, and Wade Hoyt pitched for the Yankees in the Bronx. Check you in a moment. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Brandon McCarthy. Out of his stretch goes Moore. The runner goes from first. Ball 3. Bad throw. It's going to go into center field. And the Dodgers get a gift run. A terrible throw by Mahle. And they were just running Ellis, who nearly ever tries to get a stolen base. So everything that the Rays do defensively so far has been very, very poor, including the 2 errors last night. All right, it's 1-0 Dodgers. Let's get back to Wade Hoyt. Wade Hoyt, they say, would pick up a body, a dead body, drive to Yankee Stadium with the dead body in the truck, whatever. He would pitch a game for the Yankees, get into the truck, drive to New Jersey, and deliver the corpse to his father for burial. How about that one? All right, 3-2, the run is in, and the next pitch on the outside corner, strike 3 call. A useless effort by the Rays. You can understand why they're 20 games back, and at the end of 2, Dodgers steal one, 1-0. Top of the third inning, youngsters not worried about the heat, the sun. No, he is the cheerleader of the family, wearing a Clayton Kershaw number 22 and holding his hand out for something to chew on. By the way, A.J. Ellis is credited with a stolen base on that bad throw by Melee. That is his first stolen base of his career. So in a sense, you get the feeling you put a little pressure on Tampa Bay and they'll give it up, at least for today and last night. So the Dodgers stealing one, lead 1-0, and it'll be Kiermaier, Moore, and then Forsythe in that order. Kevin James Kiermaier. He's the fellow we talked about last night. He made a throw from the outfield. He's a Gold Glover. He made a throw to get a runner, and they clocked the throw at 100.4 miles per hour. Left-hand batter, Kevin, out of Fort Wayne, Indiana, takes a look at an off-speed pitch for a strike. Dodgers load up the right side. Another fella who grew up rapidly from 5'6" as a freshman to 6'1". Takes one and they count 1 ball and 1 strike. 26 years old come October. 1 ball and 1 strike to Kevin. He holds up, off speed pitch misses. 2-1 the count. Brandon McCarthy trying to keep it going. 2-0 with the Dodgers. 4-1 lifetime against Tampa Bay. And the 2-1 pitch, big swing and a miss. One run, 2 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 1 hit, 2 out single by Longoria in the first inning. Next one is swung on and missed. So Kevin, who is really struggling, he is now 4 for his 33 at bats, 1 extra base hit, and 1 RBI. Of course, he's coming back off the DL. Say, you know, you can receive a Howie Kendrick bobblehead Tuesday, August 9th, Dodgers in Philly. It'll be available to the first 40,000 fans in attendance, courtesy of Farmer John. So for tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. The Kiermaier strikes out. Second strikeout for McCarthy. And here's Matt Moore, the pitcher. Moore 1 for 4. The other 3 he struck out. Swings, doesn't get it, and the count 1-1. Dodgers trying to add to Tampa Bay's misery, trying to extend their 4-game losing streak. They'll be going home after the game to play the Yankees. 1-2 the count, with 1 out, third inning, 1-0 Dodgers. McCarthy into the windup. Brandon slings it low and away. Of course, it's not quite the terror it used to be. Tampa Bay's going home to play the Yankees. Yankees are 6.5 behind Baltimore, although they apparently made a very good deal on that Aroldis Chapman, who went to Chicago. 2-2 pitch, swung on, hit foul off to the left, out of play. The crowd, and it's a thin crowd, a noon time game. Those in the sun kind of hammered by the heat. It was 90 when the game started at 10 minutes past 12. But they are a hardy bunch. The 2-2 pitch is outside, ball 3. Three and 2 the count. And if you're in the shade, and that's the wise thing to do, but there are so many sitting out in the sun. Meanwhile, it took a little while, but Moore strikes out. That's 3 consecutive strikeouts in the bottom of the lineup. Maile, Kiermaier, and Moore. 2 down, and Logan Forsythe coming up. Forsythe flied to right field, hitting .277. What's it like when you're in last place, 20 games back, and the first thing you do is look at the attendance. Pitch in for a strike. Tampa Bay Ray and his young manager Kevin Cash at home, they're averaging 16,000 a game. The Dodgers are about 45,000. Big difference. 1 ball and 1 strike. And of course, with management, you're 20 games back. A lot of people are clamoring for 2 of your young pitchers. Matt Moore. That's a foul ball down the line. Matt Moore and of course Chris Archer, who pitched last night. So that's buzzing around in the dugout and the clubhouse. Archer, who was so impressive last night. The only run he really gave up was the home run by Yasmani Grandal. Well, he's a marvelous young pitcher. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way, and that's taken at the knee. Strike 3 call. So not only does McCarthy strike out the side, he has struck out 4 in a row. And at the end of 2.5 innings, 1-0 Dodgers. Third inning, 1-0 in favor of the Dodgers. They were given a gift run. A.J. Ellis going on a 3-2 pitch. A bad throw. And in this heat and humidity, it could very well have been that Luke Maile, the catcher, had the ball slip out of his hand because it was an awful throw. First pitch fouled away, and the count 0-1. Howie Kendrick single to right field, opening up the ball game for the Dodgers. Kendrick is tied with 4 others for the most 4-hit games this year. He has 3. And he promptly now has 2 hits. Line drive single to left. So Howie Kendrick, 2 for 2. And here is Corey Seager.
For 5, Corey Seager.
Seager flied to left field in the first inning. Matt Moore had made 29 pitches coming into the inning. McCarthy is on a roll. He has struck out 4 in a row. 1-0 Dodgers. Seager flied to left field. Moore a look over at Kendrick. Left-handed to the plate. Fastball low. 1 ball and no strikes. Corey has that 9-game hitting streak. Last night's game, he extended with a base hit in the 3rd inning. 1-0 pitch on the way, swung on and missed. 1-1. Howie Kendrick, 2 hits today in the last 14 games. Kendrick now is hitting about 400 24 for 58. 1-1 the count. Breaking ball hit foul off the edge of the bat. 1-2. Big slow curveball. Seager tried to wait, still was out in front, and cued it off to the left. Moore basically fastball, curveball, change, and a cutter. Seager, remember, he had that 19-game hitting streak. That's the longest hitting streak this year in the National League. And then right behind him, Howie Kendrick, he had a 16-game streak, and that was snapped last night. The longest active streak, well, it's alive and well up at AT&T Park. Brandon Phillips of the Reds against the Giants has a 14-game hitting streak. Ground ball hard, one-handed by first baseman Morrison. They get a force play, and for Seager, losing a base hit. So Logan Morrison makes a fine play, and they get the front man Kendrick. Otherwise, that ball's into right field. It was hit to his gloved side. That was the one advantage, and he was able to make the force. One out, third inning, and Justin Turner, who walked in the first inning, coming up. One run, 3 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 1 hit for Tampa Bay. Turner waits, first pitch high and away, ball 1. The run for the Dodgers came with 2 out. Peterson walked. Ellis, fly ball single to right, sent Peterson to third. With McCarthy at the plate and 2 out, they ran Peterson. A bad throw went into center field by Melee, and that allowed Peterson to score, and that's it. The 1-0 pitch is swung on, high fly ball, shallow center, coming up. Kiermaier looking up into the sky and makes the play for the out. So 2 down. Scott Van Slyke hit into a double play in the first inning, 0 for 1. Scotty checks in, and Matt Moore looks in to get a sign. Left-hander out of his stretch, a look over at Seager, and then he goes over there. 1 run, 3 hits, no errors for the Dodgers. No runs, 1 hit, and an error for Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has made 64 errors. The pitch is swung on and fouled back, and the count 0-1. We're in the third. Tomorrow the off day. Friday night, Arizona in for a 3-game series. Two down here in the third. Moore ready. Here he comes. Misses low and inside. 92-mile-an-hour fastball. So 1 ball and 1 strike to Scott Van Slyke. Van Slyke came into the game hitting .238. Hitting .300 against left-hand pitching. In the games in which Scotty has appeared in July, he's hitting .297. The 1-1 pitch swung on, foul back, and the count to Scott Van Slyke, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Scotty with half a dozen RBIs, half a dozen doubles. We were talking earlier how tough this game is to play when you don't play. And Scotty has done a remarkable job, especially when left-handers are against the Dodgers. Moore out of a stretch, and the 1-2 pitch coming up. Fastball away at 94, and a 2 ball 2 strike count. Well, they've just about started that game up north. We're supposed to start at 12:45, and we're straight up 1. Madison Bumgarner on the mound against Dan Straley. 2-2 pitch on the way. Off speed, swung on and missed, and down he goes. So the Dodgers no runs, 1 hit and a man left. And at the end of 3, 1-0 Dodgers. Sportsnet LA is brought to you by the Dodge Challenger. Test drive one at your local Dodge dealer today. And by Children's Hospital Los Angeles. We treat kids better. Faces from the past: Walter Olston, Walter O'Malley, and Harold Pee Wee Reese, celebrating after the Dodgers clinched the pennant back in 1956. And I say that, and it just rolls on, right? And then it hits me, that's 60 years ago. And you were there, dummy. You were right amongst them. 60 years. I have nothing to say about yesterday. It's incredible. Everything now that I begin to talk about is 50 and 60 years ago. So it's time to throw the net and bring him in. Meanwhile, here's Brad Miller, grounded out in the first inning. Remember now, McCarthy has struck out 4 in a row. Brandon Reddy, off speed, straight change, missing. 2-0 the count to Miller. They're in the top of the second inning now at AT&T Park. No score, Reds and Giants. 2-0 pitch here, swung on and missed. 2-1. Two and 2 on the foul tip. Dodgers lead 1-0 with 2 out. A walk to Peterson. A.J. Ellis on his way to steal the first base in his career. Maybe Luke Maile was shocked and he threw the ball into center field. Peterson scored, and that's it. 2-2 foul back. Top of the fourth inning. 1-0 Dodgers. Another foul ball. Thinking about Tampa Bay going home and to play the Yankees. They've lost 4 out of 6, but Tampa Bay has been just crushed by Baltimore. Baltimore has beaten them 9 of 12 and 6 straight in Baltimore. Line drive into right field, down the line, in for a base hit and more. Miller is on his way into second. It's picked up by Van Slyke. And so the Rays have a leadoff double here in the 4th inning, down 1-0, and Evan Longoria coming up.
Number 3, Evan Longoria.
Longoria singled to center in the 1st inning. Of course, that's what he did last night. Singled in the 1st inning and then went 0 for 3. So we'll see what Evan does this time. Longoria, as you know, right-hand batter, checking in, hitting .289. A lot of sock, 22 home runs. So McCarthy, after striking out 4 in a row, gives up the double. Longoria takes one in at the shoulder, ball 1. 1-0 the count. Went to Long Beach State, the so-called dirt bag. It has produced 55 major leaguers. Longoria himself, and then Jason Giambi, Jared Weaver, Matt Duffy of the Giants, Danny Espinosa, Marco Estrada, and Troy Tulowitzki. 227 career home runs for Evan Longoria. He'll be 31 in October. He was Rookie of the Year back in 2008. That's a strike. So McCarthy trying to hold on to a 1-0 gift. And Tampa Bay trying to get Miller home and at least tie it. 2 balls, 1 strike. That's fouled back, 2-2. For Longoria, local boy, went to St. Raymond's Catholic School in Downey, graduated from St. John Bosco High School in Bellflower. SC looked at him, but he was 6'1" and 170, and they didn't think he was big enough. He eventually went to Long Beach State and found his way. 2-2 pitch. Just off the plate. 93-mile-an-hour fastball. Looked like it missed by an inch. The big home run hitting third baseman in the American League. A career home run total for Adrian Beltre. 427 home runs. And a high fly ball to left field. Kendrick going back, looking up, and watching that one go out. So Longoria hits it out, and the Rays take a 2-1 lead. So Longoria now 228 home runs and his 23rd of the year. So Miller doubled, Longoria hits one downtown, and the Rays take that 2-1 lead. So McCarthy is hit by 2 bolts of lightning after striking out 4 in a row. Home run was a ball hit below the knees, and Longoria certainly got all of it. So Evan, as he does so often in his career, makes the big noise for the Rays, and they lead 2-1. McCarthy has allowed 3 hits in the 2 runs, and the first pitch to Dickerson fouled away. For Brandon McCarthy, as far as home runs are concerned, that would be only the 2nd home run that he has given up this year. Oh, and 1. Fastball missing. 1-1. Corey Dickerson fly to center in the 1st inning. Was 0 for 4 last night. That's low. 2-1. Dodgers are due to have Gonzalez, Taylor, and Peterson when they hit in the bottom of the 4th. Two balls, 1 strike to Corey Dickerson. Fouled away. Corey Dickerson had a 6-game hitting streak snapped last night, but since June 21 he's been playing terrific, hitting .326 So his average moved up from below 200. And he comes up short, strikes out. 5 strikeouts for Brandon McCarthy.
20, Steven Souza Jr.
And Steven Souza Jr. coming up. Souza fly to center in the second inning. And a strike. Souza added the junior. He had been thinking for quite a while of paying tribute to his dad, who's a senior manager with Boeing. So he added the junior to his walk-up introduction. So throughout the American League, they don't say Steven Souza in right field. They say Steven Souza Jr. One ball and one strike. Souza at one time got involved where suddenly he lost his taste for baseball. So he went home to Everett, Washington, and he contacted major college coaches about playing football. And he got a very positive response. And then after the emails came back, he had kind of a reality check. He thought, wait a minute, do I really want to play football? Instead, at 24, he picked up where he left off. 2-2 the count. Steven Souza Jr. He was the minor league player of the year for the Washington Nationals back in 2014. But because of his troubles, he was a late bloomer. He spent 8 years in the minor leagues before finally getting to the majors. He had an attention deficit disorder to complicate matters. 3-2. Line drive foul. So the Rays lead the Dodgers 2-1. Now remember, the Rays came into existence in 1998. Over the 19 years, they have played in 41 different stadiums, or stadia, to be correct. This is the only ballpark where they have failed to show a victory. Then again, they've only been here once before in 2013, and they lost all 3. So after losing 4 here, they finally get a lead of 2-1.
Logan Morrison.
In the inning, Miller doubled, Longoria homered, Dickerson struck out, and Souza walks. Another left-hand hitter, Logan Morrison, checking in. Logan, 10 home runs, 31 runs batted in. Logan Morrison's dad had lung cancer. They never did figure out he was not a smoker. Foul ball. Anyway, when his dad learned that he had lung cancer, he asked the oncologist, will I be able to see my son get his first big league hit? Well, they didn't know for sure. He did fight long enough to see Logan called up to the majors in July of 2010. And Logan got a base hit, but his dad was too sick to travel. 1-1. That was now when he was playing with the Marlins. And then the Marlins played the Mets in New York, and his dad was there. Couldn't handle a plane flight, so they traveled by car from New Orleans to New York. That's a strike, and wouldn't you know, Logan got a base hit, and his dad in the stands saw that first major league hit. One and two the count. J.P. Howell gets up in the Dodger bullpen. Another throw to first. Interesting, too, a confrontation between Logan and his dad. And Logan said to his father, "Did you fight hard?" And his dad said, "Yes." "You gave it all you had, right?" "Yes." And then Logan said something that he'd been wanting to say for a long time as he swings and misses. The throw down to second is late. So Souza steals second base. 2 down. And the batter will be Luke Maile. Anyway, in that confrontation, Luke finally said to his dad, "All right, if you've played hard, lived hard, tried the best you can, that's all you can ask. Sometimes you get beat." His father nodded and shortly after left us all. Just a little sidebar story on Logan Morrison and his dad. Meanwhile, the Dodgers are on the phone. They think maybe Souza was out at second base, checking to see if they want to review the play. Bob Guerin has not suggested so, and the game will go on. So Souza at second, 2 down, 2 runs in, 2-1 favor the Rays in the 4th. Luke Maile struck out in the 2nd inning. And Maile, a shot, fair ball over third down the line. Scoring easily is Souza on a blistering double by Maile. So Maile almost ripped the bag right out of the ground with that hard double. Souza, who had stolen second base, comes home, and the Rays now lead 3-1. So in the inning, Miller doubled, Longoria homered. Dickerson struck out, Souza walked and stole second. Morrison struck out, but Maile doubles to left. Three runs, 4 hits for Tampa Bay. 1 run, 3 hits for the Dodgers. They're going to take the bat out of Kiermaier's hands. Kevin will be walked intentionally, and they'll try and get out of the inning against Matt Moore. So that would be the 2nd walk in the inning, although McCarthy is anything but wild. 3 runs, 4 hits, and 1 error for the Rays. 1 run, 3 hits, no errors for the Dodgers. No report of anything going on up at AT&T Park. They were scoreless in the 2nd inning last we heard. And that game is moved on to the 3rd. All right, 1st and 2nd. Three runs, 4 hits, and 1 error for the Rays. 1 run, 3 hits, no errors for the Dodgers. And here's Matt Moore, who struck out in the 3rd inning. McCarthy trying to get out of the inning and hold it to a 3-run inning. 0-1. Moore 1 for 5 batting against the National League. McCarthy has never thrown more than 85 pitches in a game this year, and he's up to 81 right now. Last time out he did go 85 for the first and only time. Fastball strike. McCarthy's had a long inning. This will be his 36th pitch in the 4th inning. 0-2. And that'll be that. He winds up with striking out the side. That's the 2nd time he has done it. That gives him 7 strikeouts, but he surrenders 3 runs. And at the end of 3.5 innings, 3-1 Tampa Bay. There's our lady of the day, maybe 18 months old, the most big bow. However, while we look at her, the world is real, very real, especially to Steven Souza Jr. In the fourth inning, you remember he stole second, scored on a double, and then went to the dugout. And when he got to the dugout, watch what happened. 1, 2, whoops, he slips and falls down. So the umpires were informed that they were going to take a minute or two. Souza had gotten up, went back to the clubhouse, apparently is okay now, and takes his position in right field. So the Rays leading 3-1, and Matt Moore pitching to Gonzalez, Taylor, and Peterson. Matt Moore, remember, is 5-3 at home and 1-4 on the road. But he normally pitches very well, 5-1 in the daylight, and here he is leading 3-1. So Moore making sure Souza is okay, and we go into the bottom of the fourth. 3-1 Rays. Gonzalez flied to right field in the second inning. That's a strike. Last night, tough night. Adrian flied to left and then struck out 3 consecutive times. 0-1. And he finds himself in a hole now. 0-2. Remember, Adrian in his career, 299 home runs. Three to 1 Rays, fourth inning. And stroke to center, line drive, and a running catch by Kiermaier in center field. Well, Kevin was saying that anybody can catch a ball going in, and he practices going back, but not anybody could have made that catch. Line drive that just hung long enough, and Kevin made a nice play. So 1 out here in the fourth inning. Chris Taylor grounded to short in the second inning, 0 for 1. There are a lot of people in the American League who watched him play day after day. They think that Kiermaier, the Gold Glover's the best defensive center fielder in the league. And of course, out here in Southern California, our first thought is, well, what about Mike Trout? Nice to be compared to Trout, huh? At least in one area. 0-1 the count. Taylor grounded to short. 0-2. Chase Utley playing solid ball, getting a rest today. There's Chase, deep in thought, taken in the game. He is Mr. Serious from the moment he puts the uniform on in the clubhouse. Taylor, a hard hack, missed, and he's nailed at first, and we have 2 down in the fourth. I'm wondering about the heat taking effect on Brandon McCarthy. Also, the fact he has never made more than 85 pitches this year. So Lewis Coleman gets up in the Dodger bullpen. McCarthy cooling off, and Coleman looks like he's getting ready. McCarthy made a total of 83 pitches. I'm only guessing that he is done for the day, because he's made a major comeback. 85 pitches, the most, and that was last time out. High foul ball out of play. 0-1 to count to Jock Peterson. Well, the Giants got a run. Connor Gillespie hit a home run in the bottom of the third inning against Straley. So the Giants and Madison Bumgarner leading the Reds 1-0 in the third. Rays lead the Dodgers 3-1 in the fourth. 1-1 the count to Jock Peterson. Little breaking ball off the plate. 2-1 to count. Moore has only made 51 pitches. McCarthy made 83. Breaking ball low. 3-1. McCarthy wondering, I guess. I'm sure he's gotten the word. Otherwise, Coleman wouldn't be throwing in the bullpen. 3-1 pitch to Peterson. Swung on, hit foul outside of first down the line, and the count 3-2. Full count to Jock Peterson. 2 out in the fourth. 3 runs, 4 hits, 1 error for the Rays. Big blow, 2-run home run by Evan Longoria. Dodgers got an unearned run in the second inning. High foul ball out of play down the left field line. Still 3-2. It was 90 degrees when the game started. Might actually have gotten a little bit warmer. 3-2. Another foul ball. Moore hitting 95 on the gun has now made 55 pitches. Right now it's jumped up a notch. As of the moment, 91 degrees. 3-2. Curve ball got him on a check swing. Great pitch. So a 3-2 curve ball for strike 3. That's 4 strikeouts for Moore. And at the end of 4, 3-1 Rays. Sportsnet LA is brought to you by your Southern California Toyota dealers. Toyota's summer drive sales event is going on now, where you can save big on the all-new Prius. Way back in 1952, a collection of Dodgers. Lower left-hand corner, Everett Lamar, better known to the world as Rocky Bridges. Up above him is Clarence Podbelan, a pitcher. Then you have Jackie Robinson, Pee Wee Reese behind the hand of Charlie Dressen, Roy Campanella right behind Charlie's head, and the white-haired gentleman, the Dodger first base coach, Jake Pitlick. And the big grin on his face wearing the cap, that would be Carl Erskine. And way up, just above and behind Jackie Robinson, Harold Parrott, the Dodgers' famous traveling secretary. What a collection 65 years ago. 3-1, favor of the Rays. Lewis Coleman picking up from a weary McCarthy. I would guess that the hot weather just got to Brandon. So here's Coleman, starting with Forsythe, who was flied to right and struck out. In there. You know what a manta ray is, I would guess. You know, it looks like a B-2 bomber. Big, scary looking, but harmless. 1-1 pitch. Another strike. Of course, when Tampa Bay was first organized, they were called the Devil Rays. And some people might wonder, where does the term Devil Rays come from? Here's the 1-2 pitch, a little high. They call it cephalic fins. They're like two little knuckles sticking out of the manta ray right up at the head of the fish. And those who saw it referred to them as horns. And the Devil Rays were born. Actually, what they're used for, they open up and the water washes in, and it helps them when they're eating. The Devil Rays. 1 out, and here's Brad Miller. They think the Devil Rays, those who know such things, ichthyologists, they say the Devil Rays have been around 20 to 25 million years. One ball and no strikes. 2-0. Another thing about the Rays, and they certainly could keep that in mind, they have the largest brains of all 32,000 species of fish. They display intelligent behavior. The manta ray. Little chopper by Coleman, picked up by Taylor, who throws the off-balance throw away. On his way to second base and making it head first goes Miller. So Miller winds up 1-1, I'm sure, base hit, and then the throwing error charge to Taylor. Coleman couldn't get the ball. Taylor's off-balance throw was behind Adrian Gonzalez, so it is 1-1. Infield single. Take second on the error. Evan Longoria coming up, singled in the first inning and had a 2-run home run in the fourth. Of course, that was against Brandon McCarthy. Now he'll try his luck against Coleman. 3 runs, 5 hits, 1 error for the Rays, 1 run, 3 hits, 1 error for the Dodgers. No play, but a dazzling lead by Miller. He took a look as to where Chris Taylor was, figured he could take a very big lead, and then he had to scramble back when Coleman turned, but no play. Another thing about the Manta Rays, and maybe that sums up this year's edition of Tampa Bay Rays. They're in last place, 20 games back. The giant Manta Rays are truly deep divers. To keep their large brains warm, they have to go deep down. They have to keep their brains much warmer than most fish. 0-1. Yeah, it's kind of a, I don't know, you want to go fishing while we're watching the ball game? 0-1. That's a strike. You know, fish have been on the earth for more than 450 million years. Mammals have been on the earth for roughly 200 million years. 0-2. Foul ball, out of play. How many different kinds of fish do you think there are? A lot, right? They have identified 27,000 species of fish on the earth, and estimated 15,000 more have not yet been identified. 0-2 the count to Longoria. 3-1 favor of Tampa Bay. Though mentally, you and I are in a boat. We're out in the middle of the lake and we're fishing. Breeze still blowing left to right. 1 out. Foul back. Who are the fastest fish in the water? Quickest. The sailfish, the swordfish, and the marlin. They are the fastest fish in the ocean. Some of them get up to 70 miles an hour. That's really hard to believe. I mean, that's faster than the speed limits on highways. Quick moving fish. 0-2. And ball 1. Crowd very quiet, hammered in their seats by the sun. McCarthy lasted 4 innings. So we're trying to take your mind off things, talking about fish in between pitches. 1 ball and 2 strikes. 1 out. Runner at second. Check swing foul. You know what a rockfish is? Well, they say that a rockfish can live hundreds of years. They're the longest living fish. Some of them can live over 200 years. Now that's a fish story. Another foul ball. Dodgers got an unearned run in the second inning. The Rays came up with 3 in the 4th and lead 3-1. 1 out. We're in the 5th inning, and the Rays trying to get another with Miller at second and 1 away. Now a little meeting. All right, let's talk sharks while they're talking. Out of more than 360 species of sharks, only a handful pose a potential threat to humans. Did you know that elephants, deer, kill more people every year than sharks? 1 ball and 2 strikes. 2-2. Do you have a big family where you live? They say a female sunfish may lay 300 million eggs at a single spawning season. 300 and wow. And that's probably stung DeSanta for a base hit. At third base, they will stop Miller. The throw cut off by Gonzalez. So Longoria having a big day. 2 singles and a 2-run home run. The Rays have runners at first and third, and the left-hand hitting Corey Dickerson will be coming up. Slider just starting to slide away, and Longoria caught up to it. First and third, 1 out. Corey Dickerson, the left-hander, and down in the Dodger bullpen, J.P. Howell is warming up. So Coleman is coming out. Howell is coming in, and we'll be back with the fish in a moment.
Ladies and gentlemen, attention please now. Pitching.
Dodger Stadium Saturday, August 13th. Dodgers and Pirates game at 1:05. Then watch the classic flick Ferris Bueller's Day Off. That'll be after the game, courtesy of Fandango. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. All right, the Rays have runners at first and third. Still one out. The left-hand hitting Dickerson will face the left-hand pitching of J.P. Howell. Howell appeared and faced one batter last night. Walked him. Had to come out. Dickerson is flied to center and struck out. So Longoria at first, Miller at third, one down. Rays lead 3-1. And a strike, 0-1. Remember, the Rays, they've only played 4. Have never won a game at Dodger Stadium. They've only been here once before in 2013. It's the only stadium where they have not had at least one victory. Dropped that breaking ball in. 0-2 to Corey Dickerson. Dickerson will be followed by Souza, a right-hand batter. Little foul ball, so Corey is still there, 0-2. In the inning with one out, Miller hit a slow roller towards Chris Taylor, who tried to make the hurried off-balance throw, threw it away. That meant base hit and error. Miller reaching second. Longoria then stung a line drive single to center, sending Miller to third. So with one out, runners at first and third, all of that against Coleman. Howell is now in on relief. Chasing a bad ball, and Corey Dickerson strikes out. So Howell comes in, gets a very good left-hand batter. Now he has to get around Souza. Souza, the right fielder, flied to center, walked, stole second, scored on a double. Dickerson, steaming, I'm sure, goes back into the solitude of the dugout. Rays lead 3-1. Remember, they have a 4-game losing streak. They've scored 7 runs in the 4 games, and their batting average in the 4 games, 191. So the peaceful Manta Rays do not represent this club. Not now. Souza slipped, falling down the steps in the dugout. Had to take a couple of minutes for repair. And promptly lines one to left. Kendrick is there and makes the catch. So that was the big out to strike out Dickerson, and they leave runners at first and third. However, at the end of 4.5, it's still 3-1 Rays. 3-1 Tampa Bay. J.P. Howell does a good job to strike out Dickerson and get Sousa on that long fly ball to left. So you talk about relief, that's exactly what J.P. provided, getting 2 big outs, keeping a runner at third from scoring. So now the Dodgers will have Ellis, a batter for the pitcher Howell, and that would be Austin Barnes. And the first pitch, ball 1. Ellis singled, and then in the second inning, for the first time in his career, stole second, and Mele's throw was such a poor one, Dodgers had Peterson score from third. 3-1 Tampa Bay. Reds got a run on a sac fly in the top of the 5th inning. So that's a 1-1 tie in the 5th. Ball game featuring Madison Bumgarner trying to win his 11th. Fastball down the pipe, 3-1. Moore has struck out 4. He's only made 60 pitches. That's hit late and foul. Pretty good fastball up at 94, and the first thing Ellis does after fouling it off with a 3-ball count, did I swing at a strike? And I think Chad Fairchild said yes. Matt Moore, 6'3", 210, 27 years old, out of Fort Walton Beach in Florida. Went to school in high school. Fly ball battling the sun in center field is Kiermaier and makes the catch. Racing over, but he would have been too late, is Sousa, but he was trying to get there in time. Kiermaier is saying, well, thanks a lot, but I really had trouble, and Sousa said, yeah, I know, I could see that, but he made the play. 1 out in the 5th inning, and the batter is the hitter Austin Barnes. There you go. You use sunglasses, the bill of the cap, the glove, and your bare hand, desperately looking for the baseball. Slow chopper to third, Longoria, and we have 2 down. So Barnes hits for Howell, taps to third.
Left fielder, number 47, Howie Kendrick.
Howie Kendrick 2 for 2. So after having a 16-game hitting streak snapped last night, single sharply to right, single sharply to left. On deck, Corey Seager. Ball 1. In the Dodger bullpen, Luis Avilan, the left-hander who appeared briefly in last night's game, getting ready. 2-0 the count to Howie Kendrick. 3-1 Tampa Bay. 2 out in the 5th. Giants are 1-1 with the Reds in the 5th. Kendricks had 31 hits in the month of July. A local boy from the Valley also has 31 hits. That would be Christian Yelich of the Marlins. Great month. 3 runs, 6 hits, 1 error for the Rays. 1 run, 3 hits, 1 error for the Dodgers. And the count goes to 3-1. Missed way inside, ball 4. So a 2-out walk to Kendrick, and that'll bring up Corey Seager. For Moore, he had walked Turner in the first inning and Peterson in the second. So he's given up 3 walks. Seager flied to left and hit into a force play. The force play, he hit a shot, a diving stop by Logan Morrison. And the big difference was the fact that Morrison is a left-handed first baseman. If he was right-handed, I don't believe he could have caught it. Being left-handed, it was on his glove side. And Morrison made the dive and took a hit away. 0-1 the count to Corey Seager. Chad Fairchild studying that ball like it was the Hope Diamond and decides throw it out. Corey Seager, the last 30 games for a month, he's hit safely in 28 of the 30 with a .373 batting average, 10 RBIs and 15 doubles. Wow. 0-1 to Corey. Holds up on a low fastball. 1 ball, 1 strike. Dodgers got a run in the second. The Rays got 3 in the fourth, and that's it. Waiting on deck, Justin Turner. 2 out. And a high pop fly going out is Miller. And backhanded, tough play. So a 2-out walk to Kendrick. Dodgers failed to do anything with it. And at the end of 5, 3-1, Tampa Bay. I've always been thrilled and delighted for those members of the club who wound up in the Hall of Fame. There were 2 others I always hoped and prayed that I would see get into the Hall of Fame. Number 1 was Walter O'Malley. He was like a second father to me, and sure enough, on this day in 2008, Mr. O'Malley elected into the Hall of Fame. The other player who never made it absolutely breaks my heart, and that was Gil Hodges, the great first baseman of the Dodgers, who just never got a call. Let's go back to this one. Luis Avilan on the mound now, pitching to Logan Morrison, who lifts one to right center field. Scott Van Slyke fighting the sun and does a good job. 1 away. So Logan, a fly ball to right. Luke Maile, the catcher, coming up.
Catcher Luke Maile.
You know, Gil Hodges, during his career, hit 370 home runs. He drove in over 1,200 runs. You could match him up easily with Cincinnati's Tony Perez. And Gil never got in. Ball 1. Maile has struck out and doubled. 3-1 Rays, 6th inning. Avilan, the fourth Dodger pitcher. Foul back, 1-1. Kiermaier on deck. He is 0 for 1, struck out and walked. 1-1. 1-2. Boy, the bottom dropped out of that pitch. Maile kind of looking out as if they how'd that work. He was hitting off Avilan's delivery and was way out in front on the change. 2-2. Have the breeze. Once in a while it's stronger. For the moment, right about in the middle, the flag's just moving, but a little comfort zone for the people in right field. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Breaking ball, pop foul. Dodgers got an unearned run in the second inning as A.J. Ellis stole the first base of his career. Maile threw the ball into center field, and Peterson, with 2 out, came home to score. Remember last night the Dodgers got 2 unearned runs on errors. Grandal's home run gave them the win 3-2. Fastball, foul back. Still 2-2. The Rays picked up all 3 runs in the 4th inning. Miller doubled to right. Longoria homered to left. Souza walked, stole second, and came home on a double by Maile. And Maile's up there right now, 1 for 2. Longoria with the shades on, sitting back and cooling off. He's had a big day, 3 for 3. 2-2. Off speed, off the plate. So Maile has seen 2 straight changes. Another one that had a little bend to it, but it was only 80 miles an hour. 3-2. And down he goes. So the Rays are really not hitting a lick, but they're leading 3-1. McCarthy struck out 7. Coleman got Dickerson for number 8. Maile now becomes number 9. They're in the 6th inning up north, 1-1. The Reds against Madison, Bumgarner, and the Giants. Oh, yes. Yes, I've got my pacifier. I got my mom's loving arms around me. I don't really care what the outcome is. 2-0. Three runs, 6 hits, 1 error for the Rays. 1 run, 3 hits, 1 error for the Dodgers. Aha! We are wide awake. Another. What is that he's wearing? He pours some liquid on. It looked like a mesh hair piece. Yeah. So what you do is you soak it with water. Then you put the cap on top of it. Yeah, hi. Cool, huh? Reminds me in the old days when they did not have air conditioning. Ball players would be on the road. They'd go to the hotel, and before they did, they would go to the vegetable store and get a big cabbage leaf. Soak the cabbage leaf, put it on the head, and then put the cap on top of it. Well, that'll do it. Strikeout for the second time for Kiermaier. So that's about 10 strikeouts for the Rays, but at the end of 5.5, they're still leading 3-1. LA is brought to you by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop online at choosenissan.com. 3-1 in favor of Tampa Bay. A look at the beautiful coastline. The waves rushing into the shore. They're doing that just to cool you off a little bit. One of the interesting things as a newcomer to California was driving towards the water. And at one time you would see a sign that says west, and another time you'd see a sign that says north. And you would say, wait a minute, but our coastline is wavy to say the least. Meanwhile, the Dodgers with only one run, and they're lucky to get that. Turner, Van Slyke, and Gonzalez against Matt Moore. Breaking ball dips in for a strike, 0-1. We mentioned at the start of the game, those who follow the Rays closely say that Moore and Archer could easily be traded at the trade line. Fly ball to right field. Souza puts it away. 1 down. I think most people last night talking about the fact that Chris Archer might very well be a #1 trade. But then there's another strong performance that this could be Matt Moore's last game. Well, you're 20 games back. You've known what it's like to win. And you have 2 very good young pitchers. Do you trade one for a gang of prospects? It'll be interesting to see. Ball 1. In the Dodger bullpen, Ross Stripling now begins to warm up. 1 ball and no strikes. Fastball missed. Two and 0. Fastball. Foul ball. Neely makes the play. So Van Slyke fouls out. 2 down in the 6th inning. And the batter, Adrian Gonzalez. Dodgers got a leadoff single by Kendrick. Then a single by Ellis. And a leadoff single by Kendrick. So they have not had anything as far as a base hit since Kendrick singled leading off the 3rd. And we're now in the bottom of the 6th with 2 out. Adrian flied to right, flied to center. That was the play. Kiermaier had a lot of trouble with the glare and somehow or other held on, made the catch. The Gold Glove in center also made a diving catch on a ball that almost hit the grass. 2-0. So that message tells you about Matt Moore. 6 or more innings in his last 9 starts. Good fastball at 94. Nice easy delivery. Of course, he is 6'3" and 210. And another one that's smoked, base hit. So it looked like he came with the exact same pitch back to back. And Adrian singles on the second one to bring up Chris Taylor.
Second baseman Chris Taylor.
For the Dodgers now they have 4 hits. Gonzalez at first, 2 down, Taylor at the plate. Jock Peterson on deck. Missed with the fastball, ball 1. Moore's pitch count now up to 81. McCarthy had to come out after 83 in 4 innings. Check swing for a strike. 1 ball, 1 strike. 2 down, 3-1 Rays. Bottom of the 6th inning. Gonzalez at first. Another good fastball. So he apparently has a lot in the tank throwing that hard in this heat with 2 out in the 6th inning. Matt Moore out of Fort Walton Beach, Florida. And another one on the inside corner, and that's that. So Taylor strikes out. The Dodgers lead Gonzalez, and we're heading to the 7th inning. 3-1 Tampa Bay. Red Sox. That'll be Sunday, August 7th. The first 40,000 fans in attendance receive Dodger blue socks, courtesy of AM/PM. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotion. Red Sox are in 3rd place, but they're only 2.5 games back of Baltimore. So the Sox will be here. That means Big Poppy, among many others. 3-1 favor of Tampa Bay. We're in the 7th inning. Chase Utley and Ross Stripling come in at the same time. Stripling will go in Taylor's spot. Utley will bat 9th and hit 3rd in the bottom of the 7th. So Ross Stripling, who had Tommy John surgery in 2014, going to work. Matt Moore, the pitcher, leading off for ball 1. McCarthy, Coleman, Howell, Avilan, and Stripling. 2-0. Moore, 2 at-bats, struck out twice. That's a strike. Moore has made 84 pitches in his 6 innings. And grounds one up the middle, base hit. So that might be with mixed emotions for Kevin Cash. His starting pitcher is doing such a great job, but now he's going to be running the bases. And after 84 pitches in the heat, we shall see as Logan Forsythe comes up. So Moore, who was 1 for 4, is now 2 for 7 in the big leagues as a batter this year. So Stripling gives up the hit, and now Logan Forsythe flied to right, struck out, grounded to third, 0 for 3, hitting .275. He was 1 for 4 last night, so 1 for 7 in the series. After Forsythe comes Miller, and then Evan Longoria. That's in there. 1 ball and 1 strike. Stripling from Blue Bell, Pennsylvania. The population of that city about 6,000. At one time it was known as Pigeon Town. Flocks of the now extinct passenger pigeons. That's in the dirt. 2-1. Blue Bell is only 22 miles away from Philadelphia, the host of the Democratic National Convention Center. 2-1. And popped up. Coming in for it, Van Slyke and Peterson. It's Van Slyke. So a little fly ball to right. 1 down in the 7th. And here's Miller.
Brad Miller.
Left-hand batter, and Brad grounded out, double to right, and singled. The middle 3 innings, Tampa Bay had a chance to open up the lead, but they couldn't do it. They left 2 men aboard in the 4th, 2 men aboard in the 5th. They lead 3-1. With Moore the runner at first, they're not bothering to hold him on. They don't expect the pitcher to do any running. Though Adrian way off the bag. Two balls and no strikes. And Stripling now behind 3-0. Now Miller has socked. He has 15 home runs. And the Dodgers have to be very careful with Miller on a 3-0 count. And a strike. Up north, the Reds have forged ahead in the 7th inning, 2-1. Jay Bruce hit a solo home run. Boy, there's a name that's bandied about as trade bait. Wow. Well, Bruce hit his 25th home run of the year off Madison Bumgarner. 3-1. And that's high. Ball 4. And now here comes the dangerous Evan Longoria. So a base hit to Moore, a 1-out walk to Miller. And here's Longoria. Single to center in the 1st. Hit a 2-run home run into the Dodger bullpen in the 4th. Single to center in the 5th. Longoria's home run was his 23rd. 57 runs batted in, and a chance, of course, to break the game wide open. And a strike. 0-1. Two on, 1 out, 7th inning, 3-1 Tampa Bay. One ball and 1 strike. Dodgers off tomorrow. The Rays fly home immediately after the game. They go back to Tampa Bay and will host the Yankees. 1 ball and 1 strike. One and two. Longoria has had a great career ever since 2008, when he's the American League Rookie of the Year. In the dirt, nice block. Last year at one stage, Longoria had a streak of playing successfully in 198 games. Of course, that doesn't mean very much, but it did to him. 2 and 2. Foul back. When Longoria came to Long Beach State, his coach, Mike Weathers, thought he could be a good shortstop, but I've already got one. The shortstop he had, Troy Tulowitzki. Little comebacker. They get the out and double play. So Longoria, in a big spot, hits into the double play. Dodgers off the hook. No runs, 1 hit, a man left. And at the end of 6.5, 3-1 Tampa Bay. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by BMW. See a Southern California BMW Center today for exceptional offers. We go to the bottom of the 7th inning. I must go down to the sea again, to the lonely sea in the sky. And all I ask is a strong wind and a sail to steal me by. And there they are. Little regatta. Meanwhile, back to earth. Bottom of the 7th, 3-1 Tampa Bay. And it'll be Jock Peterson, A.J. Ellis, and remember, Chase Utley bats 9th. Moore has made 84 pitches, and he's going to have to push himself some more. They're almost ready to get somebody throwing behind him. Big curveball misses, ball 1. But not a ball thrown, and now it begins. There is someone just starting to throw. Matt Andriese is up, and Xavier Cedeno. 2-0. Peterson has walked, scored the Dodger run, and struck out. They've loaded up the right side. And the count now 3-0. For Moore, he walked Peterson, then he walked Turner, and he's also walked Kendrick. 3-0. In there, 3-1. So he's walked 3 and struck out 5. Matt Moore, A.J. Ellis on deck. And a push bunt foul. Not a bad idea. There isn't anybody at third base. So you get a pitch away, and why not? But it went foul, and the count 3-2. Dodgers here at Dodger Stadium have split 12 games against left-hand starters. They're 6-6 on the road, 5-6. So they're one game under 500 against left-hand starters. And ball 4. That is the 4th walk given up. And remember, Moore led off the 7th inning with a base hit. And we talked about the problem that is of getting a pitcher on base here in the 7th inning in the heat.
Catcher number 17, A.J. Ellis.
So A.J. Ellis coming up. Jock Peterson leading off with the walk. A.J. Ellis singled, stole the first base of his career, and flied to center. In the bullpen, Kevin Jepson, a right-hander, joining Xavier Cedeno. Tampa Bay 3, Dodgers 1, 7th inning. The only Dodger run came a bad throw by the catcher Luke Maile, allowing Peterson to score from third, while Ellis was stealing with 2 out, the first base of his career. Foul back, 0-1. Ellis taking another long look at Chris Woodward. Howie Kendrick in the leadoff role has 2 singles and a walk. He's 6 for 14 against Moore. Fastball strike, 0-2. Chase Utley rested for most of the afternoon, but now in that double switch, finishing up at second base. 0-2. Peterson at first, nobody out. Jock Peterson has stolen 5 out of 7, though Moore has to be very conscious of him. Still 0-2. Ellis, among other things, likes to go away, likes to go to right field, and his base hit today was to right field. So he had that in mind, going after that fastball on the outside part of the plate. No balls, 2 strikes. Bottom of the 7th. Peterson at first. Rays lead 3-1. In the dirt. Nice block. New ball put in play. Maile and Ellis, a long day in the heat. You can see Maile looking over at Cash to see about whether he would call a pitch out or not. Fastball and a high fly ball to left field, carrying well at the wall, reaching up to make the catch is Dickerson, and the throw coming back to the infield. A.J. Ellis just missed in the heat. The light breeze perhaps took it away, It's a light breeze, but Dickerson went all the way, pressed up against the wall, and timed the leap. That was a high fastball. AJ, I think, thought he might have hit it. And Dickerson goes up the ladder to make the catch. It would not have cleared the wall. However, it could easily have been an extra base hit. So 1 out. Peterson at first. And here comes Chase Utley. Utley hitting .258, has done exceptionally well in interleague games, hitting .413, half a dozen home runs, 30 runs batted in. Waiting for time to be called back in by plate umpire Chad Fairchild. The Rays thought maybe on that long fly ball Peterson had gone to second and then failed to touch it going back. So that was a delay, but no harm, no foul. And here's Utley. 1 out, 7th inning. 3-1 Rays. Fastball missed. Ball 1. Utley checking with Chris Woodward, the third base coach. Dodgers playing exceptionally well at home. Their record of late, they've won 14 of the last 17 games here. Giants are losing 2-1 last we heard. 7th inning, home run by Jay Bruce. Well, there's a name every year. You hear somebody's going to trade for Jay Bruce. Well, this year he has 25 home runs. They're now in the 8th inning. 2-1 Reds. Trying to beat Madison Bumgarner. 2-0. Pitch count, I think, becomes very important. Moore has now made 97. And again, you remember, he led off with a base hit in the 7th inning. Stayed around until Longoria hit into a double play. Almost threw it away. Good save by Logan Morrison. 2-0. Howie Kendrick, very hot on deck. That's going to be lifted off first base down the line. Morrison, a tough play if he gets under it at all, and it's the second baseman Forsythe who makes the catch. So Morrison had the tough play trying to find the ball on the dead run down the line. Forsythe angling over, had a much better angle and made the play. And now let's see, has Moore gone the distance? I believe so. Yep. So Matt Moore stays in just long enough to get Utley. He doesn't want to face Kendrick, who has hit him very hard, and he goes out leading 3-1. turned in a tremendous effort. 6 2/3 innings. He made a total of 98 pitches, and he goes out leading 3-1 with only one runner. His responsibility. I think the key to Moore, and it was just a thought, that when he led off the 7th with a base hit and stayed on the baseline until after Longoria hit into a double play. So Kevin Jepsen, who was born in Anaheim and lives in Phoenix, coming in. He was originally signed by Todd Blyleven of the Angels. And Kevin now entrusted with a big responsibility. Local boy facing Howie Kendrick. Kendrick had 2 singles and a walk against Moore. Ball 1. Kendrick single to right, single to left, and then walked in the 5th inning. There was no way they were going to let Moore pitch to him again. 1 ball, no strikes. 2 out. And ball 2. Jepsen graduated from Bishop Manogue High School in Nevada. He was on the Olympics team in Beijing in 2008, closing out the USA's victory over Japan. That was in the bronze medal winning game. And now he's 3-0. Jepsen came up to the Angels in 2008, stayed with them right up through 2014, and then came over to Tampa Bay. 3-0 the count to Kendrick. Seager waiting on deck. In there, high strike with a fastball. 3-1. Jepsen is a big guy, 6'3", 235. Fouled away, another fastball. 3-2 the count. Seager tuning up. We have 2 out, 3-2 the count on Kendrick. Peterson, who led off with a walk, ready to go. They're not holding him on. So it's man-to-man here, Jepsen and Kendrick. There goes Peterson. High foul ball. Morrison fighting the sun and the real estate and disappears. And then out. What a catch, I think. Logan Morrison goes head first into the stands, makes the catch, a little shaken up, I'm sure. Wow. So what a big play by Logan Morrison. Take another look. He's so concentrating, he hits the wall and just goes head first, but apparently caught the ball before he disappeared. The plate umpire, along with the first base umpire, watching him catch it and then watching him fall out of sight. Wow. 3-1 Tampa Bay. makes a tremendous play. He lives in Jupiter, and by Jupiter, he made a dazzling catch, going right over the wall head first. No way to stop. And the big guy at 6'3", 230 tumbled out of sight and holding up the glove with the ball in it. Wow. Meanwhile, we're in the 8th inning. Corey Dickerson will start it all. Oh, what a play by Morrison. Trying to just walk it off. No balls, 1 strike. Ground ball, racing over Utley, backhands, throws and gets him. So Dickerson goes 0 for 4, went 0 for 4 last night, and 0 for 8 in the series.
Right fielder number 20, Steven Souza Jr.
Steven Souza Jr. Remember, we told the story. He added Jr. so that the announcers would say it every game, and that would be his little salute to his dad. Souza fly to center, walked, stole second, scored, and remember, slipped and fell down the steps. Took a little while to recover before going back out to right field. 0 for 2, hitting .240. Ball 1. Dodgers used McCarthy for 4 innings. At one time, McCarthy not only struck out the side, had a string of 4 straight strikeouts, but I think the heat undermined, and Brandon had to come out. Then he's been followed by Coleman, Howell, Avilan, and Stripling. And that's going to go fouled away. Souza 0 for 2. You have Logan Morrison, who just made that sensational play out on deck. That's as good as it gets. Two balls, 2 strikes. Slow breaking ball, strike 3 call. Great pitch. Souza just walked away. He was looking for anything but that. And down he goes.
Logan Morrison.
So Stripling picks up a strikeout. And now here's Logan Morrison, who made that remarkable catch on Howie Kendrick's foul ball. Morrison 0 for 3, fly to center, struck out, and fly to right. Meanwhile, Howie Kendrick, who has had a perfect day, it took a great play to stop him. He had 2 singles and a walk, and then Morrison goes into the stands, tumbling in to make that great catch. Morrison is big, but I'm sure he's still a little banged up. You just can't go head over heels into the stands with a concrete flooring. Oh, and 1. Oh, and 2. Morrison came into the game hitting .231. He is a career .240 home. In fact, .246 batting average. He has 10 home runs. In the dirt, ball 1. When the Dodgers come up in the bottom of the 8th inning, it'll be Corey Seager, Justin Turner, and Scott Van Slyke. Collectively, that would be 0 for 8. With a walk to Turner thrown in. One and 2. Check swing foul. Hulk Logan, they call him. They needed a lot of Hulk to stay healthy after that play. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Little chopper to first. Gonzalez takes it to the bag, and that'll be that. So in the bottom of the 8th inning, Corey Seager, who has flied to left, hit into a force play, grounded to short. With a 9-game hitting streak, he will lead it off for the Dodgers in the 8th, down 3-1. Tampa Bay making 2 changes. First of all, Steve Pearce will come into the game, take over at first base, and bat 9th, meaning he'd be coming up probably in the 9th inning. Xavier Cedeno will take over on the mound. We saw Cedeno last night. He pitched the 8th inning. Gave up a base hit to Turner. So Cedeno checking in. And Seager with his modest 9-game hitting streak on the line. And ball 1. 3-1 in favor of Tampa. It's been that way since the top of the 4th inning. Xavier Quinones Cedeno from Puerto Rico. Foul back. 1-1. Cedeno is 6'1", 170 from Guayanilla in Puerto Rico. Originally drafted by the Rockies. He was going to school Miami-Dade Community College in Florida. Tried to snap off a fastball, threw it in the dirt. 2-1. Cedeno, 30 years old in August. Bounced around a lot. Signed by the Rockies, released by the Rockies, signed by the Astros, released by the Astros, signed by Houston, claimed from the Astros by the Nationals. Dodgers claimed him, and then the Rays took him from the Dodgers for cash. Basically, curveball, fastball, and changeup. Two balls and 2 strikes. And big breaking ball and a big swing and a miss. So Seager strikes out. That could be the end of his 9-game hitting streak.
Third baseman number 10, Justin Turner.
And here's Justin Turner. 8th inning, 1 out, 3-1 Tampa Bay. Dodgers got an unearned run in the 2nd inning. So they've scored 4 runs in 2 games against the Rays. And of the 4 runs, only 1 earned. And that was the home run by Yasmani Grandal. 2 errors gave them a couple of runs last night. And the big throwing error by the catcher gave them a run today. And that's it. Turner has walked, flied to center, and flied to right. 0 for 2. Breaking ball in. 0-2. Curve, fastball, and changeup. That's what you get from Cedeno. And a little pop foul. Pierce comes over, lost the ball in the sun. Well, Pierce just got in the game. Is he wearing sunglasses? I know he has the eye black. So Turner is very fortunate. His bat came around and hit the mask of Melee, so that shakes up the Tampa Bay catcher. Wow. We had all eyes on Pierce. Losing, and it lands behind him. Looks like he has sunglasses, but they're under the bill of the cap. So we'll see just how big that is. Turner should be out. High foul, very playable. But you see, down goes the catcher. Turner unaware of the backlash of the bat. Wow. All right, Justin back up. Melee's okay. 0-2 the count. Van Slyke on deck. High fly ball, but it's playable. Dickerson is out there calling, and one hands it casually. 2 down in the 8th inning. And the batter will be Scott Van Slyke. We have the paid attendance today. 43,576. So you can imagine how the Rays feel. They're averaging 16,000 a game. They come here, and it was almost 47,000 last night and over 43 today. Almost 6 times in 2 games what the Rays would draw. That's a strike. Giants are struggling. The Reds are leading them 2-1, top of the 9th inning. Bumgarner came out, went 8 innings, made 105 pitches, allowed 5 hits, struck out 9, but he couldn't get Jay Bruce out. Bruce home run gives the Reds that 2-1 lead in the 9th. 0-2 the count to Scott Van Slyke. Grounded into a double play, struck out, and fouled out. In the Dodger bullpen, Pedro Baez gets up and begins to warm up. And a foul ball out of play. Two out in the 8th, 3-1 Tampa Bay. The Cincinnati Reds, last place in the Central, 20.5 games behind Chicago, and they're leading the Giants. Tampa Bay Rays, 20 games behind Baltimore in last place. They're leading the Dodgers 3-1. One ball and 2 strikes. Adrian Gonzalez on deck. Left side loaded up. Ground ball hard, and it finds a hole and goes through for a base hit. You would think when you see 3 men on one side of the infield, it's virtually impossible, but it isn't. There are a couple of gaps, and Scott Van Slyke just caught one. Adrian Gonzalez flied to right, lined out to center, and singled to center, hitting .281. He represents the possible tying run. 2 out, 8th inning, 3-1 Rays. And a strike, 0-1. Yasmani Grandal is out on deck to bat for Stripling should Adrian Gonzalez keep the inning alive. Oh and 1. One and 1. 2 out, bottom of the 8th, 3-1 Rays. 3 runs, 7 hits for Tampa Bay. 1 run, 5 hits for the Dodgers. One and 2. And hit down the left field line, foul, slicing back into the stands. Dodger run came way back in the 2nd inning and came with 2 out. Peterson walked, Ellis singled to right. Ellis tried to steal second. Bad throw by the catcher Melee. Ellis succeeded in the steal, and Peterson came home on the error. And that's it. Now here they are in the 8th, still with only 1 run on the board. 2 out. Big comebacker. Cedeno lobs it to first. That's the inning. No runs, 1 hit, a man left. And at the end of 8, Tampa Bay 3 and the Dodgers 1. Premium. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD. Over 400 supported devices. MLB.tv includes a free subscription to At-Bat Premium. That's the #1 app for live baseball. So visit MLB.tv for details. 9th inning. The catcher, Luke Melee, will start it off. Then it'll be Kiermaier and Steve Pearce, remember, the first baseman, who just came into the game. They lay .222 batting average. Struck out, but had a big double in the 4th inning. The double drove in the 3rd Rays run. Last time up, struck out. One and two. Dodgers with Brandon McCarthy, followed by Coleman, Howell, Avilan, and Stripling. Baez threw in the pen, but didn't come in. High fly ball into left field, pretty deep. Kendrick to the track, makes the catch. One out, top of the 9th inning. And the batter is Kiermaier, who has struck out twice and was walked intentionally. Kiermaier 0 for 3 with a walk last night. When Kiermaier struck out in the 4th inning last night, that was Bud Norris' 1,000th career strikeout. Shows bunt, strike one. Looking ahead for the Dodgers in the 9th inning. They'll have a hitter for Stripling, then Peterson and Ellis, and of course we've seen Grandal already out on deck. 1-1. Dave Roberts thought that Yasiel Puig might be available to pinch hit. We don't know if that'll come about. That's one that's going to go down the left field line for a base hit. Kiermaier on his way for 2. Kendrick gets the ball back into Seager. So a 1-out double, and remember it's Steve Pearce, the first baseman, coming up.
First baseman number 28, Steve Pearce.
Second hit given up by Stripling. He gave up the other hit in the 7th inning. Steve Pearce has done a good job taking over at first base. There were those who questioned whether he could play there. He's about 5'11", but he's gotten the job done. Of course, talking about getting the job done, how about that incredible play on the foul ball by Kendrick and the great catch by Logan Morrison, who went head first into the stands, robbing Howie Kendrick of an at-bat. Pearce, meanwhile, paid his dues. He played 622 minor league games. That took 9 years before he can get to the big leagues. He's 33 years old, 5'11", 200, from Lakeland, Florida, and went to school at South Carolina. 0-1 in the dirt. Pearce was originally signed by the Pirates back in 2005. Earlier, while in college, he turned down a bid from Minnesota. He was on the Team USA in the World Cup November of 2007. That was played in Taiwan. 1-1. 1-2. You look at Pearce and you realize he has spent time with the Yankees, the Orioles, the Astros. He had 2 tours of duty with the Yankees, 2 tours of duty with the Orioles, and eventually he winds up with Tampa Bay. Pearce had been on the DL in June with a right hamstring pull, but he's back in action. Here he is. 1-2. 2-2. Fastball with late movement at 93. After all that work in the minors, Steve signed a contract this January, a deal worth about $4.7 million, and another $1.5 incentive bonuses. Two balls, 2 strikes. And ball 3. So Ross Stripling, following the path of Coleman, Howell, and Avilan, and the opening pitcher, Brandon McCarthy. 3-1 Rays. We're in the top of the 9th inning, 1 out, and a runner at second. Well, that was kind of an awkward swing. Got a little bit of it. Fouled it off. 3-2 to Steve. Pierce, with his career, started hitting .247. That's about his career batting average. Logan Forsythe waiting on deck. 3-2. Bad ball, went after it, and down he goes. So Stripling picks up a strikeout. That's 12 who have struck out for Tampa Bay. Logan Forsythe 0 for 4. Forsythe had 1 hit, 1 for 4 last night. So 1 for 8 in the series, hitting .274. 2 out. Kiermaier out there at second base, taking a pretty good lead, and well he should. Utley with the hitter Forsythe pretty far off the bag, and no way for Seager to bother him. He's on the rim deep in the hole at short. Utley's going to hang around because before he was already out almost on the grass. And 1 ball and 1 strike. So a little cat and mouse job going on at second base. Kiermaier taking the lead. Utley trying to shorten it. That extra step means a lot. Trying to score on a base hit. That's a strike. 1-2 the count. Remember, the Rays are trying to snap a 4-game losing streak. In the 4 games, they scored a total of 7 runs, and the team batted .191. 1-2. 2-2. Final score: the Reds nip Madison Bumgarner and the Giants 2-1. Jay Bruce hit his 25th home run. That turned out to be the big blow. All right, 2-2 the count to Logan Forsythe. And down he goes. The 3 strikeouts for Stripling. 13 Bays have struck out. They leave another man in scoring position. And here come the Dodgers. A batter for Stripling, then Peterson and Ellis. 3-1 Tampa Bay. Bottom of the ninth inning, Tampa Bay leading 3-1. They've led that way since the fourth inning. Before 43,576. We're happy to report a lot of youngsters here. And now we take a look at Alexander Colome, 6'2", 205-pounder from the Dominican Republic. He'll be 28 years old New Year's Eve. Originally signed by the Rays back in 2007. His uncle, Jesus Colome, pitched for the Rays for 6 years. So Colome going to work. Andrew Toles will pinch hit, batting .300. Toles crouching, really squeezing the strike zone. Little ground ball to Forsythe. And just like that, 1 out. The batter now will be Joc Pederson. Walked, scored the only Dodger run, struck out and walked again.
Number 31, Joc Pederson.
Colome has really met the challenge when he is facing the numbers 3, 4, and 5 hitters. He's an all-star. He has 21 saves. Fastball, curveball, changeup. Has a cutter as well. And a strike to Pederson, making his second appearance out in the on-deck circle, Yasmani Grandal. Joc Pederson playing center field, and like everybody down there, fighting the sun. But when you look up close, most of them have eye black. He does, but just under one eye. It would be his left eye. Being left-handed, maybe he just doesn't want it under the right eye, the front eye, so to speak, when he's hitting. 1-1. That's a strike. 1-2. Colome, described by one of his minor league managers as the ultimate competitor. He's been tough. Earned run average of 2. That's foul back. Colome has appeared in 35 games. It's been Moore, Jepson, Cedeno, and Colome trying to preserve the win for Moore. 2-2. Two balls, 2 strikes. 1 out in the ninth. 3-1 Tampa Bay. Ground ball up the middle, backhanded by Forsythe. The throw in time to get him. So a big play to get the second out. On the shortstop side of the bag, and they make the play.
Hitter number 9.
Very close. So Grandal batting for Ellis with Utley on deck. Grandal got a high fastball last night and hit it into the visiting bullpen for the winning run. Best he could do now is get him close. Ball 1. Grandal, a switch hitter, has 14 home runs. 13 of them hit left-handed, even though he's only hitting .202 as a left-handed batter. strike. The home run hitting catchers, the leader is Wilson Ramos with 15. Salvador Perez and Yasmani Grandal each have 14. All right, 1 ball, 1 strike. Ball 2. Three runs, 8 hits for Tampa Bay. 1 run, 5 hits for the Dodgers. Giants lost 2-1. So 2 last place teams give the Dodgers and the Giants a hard time. Cincinnati beats San Francisco 2-1, and the Rays are 1 out away from beating the Dodgers 3-1. That's a strike. Since the Dodger run tonight is unearned, and since 2 of the 3 runs they scored last night unearned, the Dodgers up to the moment have scored 1 earned run in 2 games against Tampa Bay, a team 20 games behind Baltimore, buried in last place. Kind of a sobering thought as Grandal strikes out, and that is the finishing note in today's little opera. 3 runs, 8 hits, and 1 error for Tampa Bay. 1 run, 5 hits, an error for the Dodgers. So Tampa Bay, it took them 5 games, but they finally win a game at Dodger Stadium, which means since they were started in 1998, they've won at least 1 game in every stadium. The play of the game, oh my goodness, it has to be Logan Morrison, the big first baseman, chasing down a foul ball off the bat of Howie Kendrick. A spectacular catch. Fortunately, the big guy was shaken up, but played on to at least conclude the inning. Magnificent effort, and the Rays beat the Dodgers 3-1. Dodgers remain 2.5 behind the Giants. Tomorrow, an off day, Friday night. Arizona will be here. We'll talk to you then. Till then, we wish you all a very pleasant good afternoon, everybody.